the Kingdom Deputy Marshal for Rebated Steel Fighting. That is the blunt arming swords and long swords that are used in this particular type of fighting that is like an official part of fighting in Ethelmark, and I believe experimental in 2 or 3 other kingdoms. It doesn't have a huge presence in the SCA. And I'm going to talk first about how it came to be and the differences between this and rattan fighting, because I feel like most people here have some familiarity with what the SCA does, and it's easier to use that as a jumping off point. The rules for the rebated steel fighting are an adaptation of the International Medieval Combat Federation's dueling tournament rules that Duke Lucan wrote in 2013. And they were adopted as an experimental weapon form in the SCA in maybe 2018 or 19. But they are like officially part of a couple of kingdoms, Ethelmark being one of them. The weapons obviously are steel, which has a higher potential destructive capability. And so as a result, the armor requirements are a little bit different than rattan fighting. The definitions of rigid material and padded material, if I'm not mistaken, are the same. So you can legally do it in hard plastic. And I honestly do believe that hard plastic over your limbs is safe enough because these weapons are pretty light in the area that's like the striking edge, whereas rattan weapons are kind of a similar mass all the way through them. Steel swords are very back weighted, so the part that hits the opponent is just, it doesn't convey as much force. If it hits right above a bone, it could break it. If it hits right in your thigh, I honestly believe it does less bruising damage than rattan does. And I do believe that wearing like hard plastic or like the Kydex plastic, thigh and forearm armor is sufficient to do this with these weapons. In the SCA is only with arming swords and two-handed swords. There's no great weapons. There's no pole arms. There's no falchions. There's no axes. There's no maces. There's no mass weapons of any kind. Has anyone here not handled one of these before? Actually, this is by a gentleman named Sylvester Tilko, who unfortunately just retired. He made my favorite dueling swords for the last, I don't know when he started, but I've used them exclusively for a decade. As you can see, it's not that heavy. No, it's not. Historical swords weren't that heavy either. They were sharp. They were for cutting. If you want to break someone in half, the club. Humanity invented it pretty early on. So jumping off from the armor standards for rattan fighting. For steel fighting, you are required to armor your shin. You are required to armor your shoulders. And it is recommended that you wear rear braces on your upper arm. And there's slightly different eye slot requirements for helmets. I don't remember exactly what they are. I've worn a visor the entire time I've been fighting. I believe more of your torso has to be armored as well, not just the kidneys. But I recommend, you want steel gauntlets, and you don't want finger gauntlets. You do not want finger gauntlets for this ever. I don't think you want them for rattan fighting, but you definitely don't want them for this because if you get hit in the side of the finger, in extreme cases, you can pulp a finger and it has to be removed. It's not common. It has happened. You can, at this point, get reliable hardened steel clamshell gauntlets for about $300 in this country. Just buy those. There is no thrusting in any format, and that's basically rule zero that makes these safe enough to do as a sport. Yeah. There's no thrusting. You can't fake with a thrust. You can't threaten a thrust.
So not even faking or not.
Nope. No. The point does not go towards the opponent. Okay. And once you start doing it, then you realize like this being swung, even like with a very good SCA flat snap into adequate armor, doesn't actually hurt. The armor really does its job, particularly with padding under it. Like thin plates over a Gambison is enough protection against one of these. I honestly believe you could be hit in Gambison and just the ribs and not break the rib most of the time.
Armor, like,
You are required to armor your forearms.
oh, I think entire
Yeah, in addition to SCA minimums, you are required to armor your shins, your forearms, and your shoulders. The rules are available online. I looked up how to make a QR code. I want to bring in business cards. I didn't have time to do that. It would have been super helpful. I didn't do it. If anyone out there wants to ask me, I will forward you the rules individually and personally. But like all the SCA's documents, they're searchable on the website. I am the FLMARC Deputy Marshal for Steel. Yeah, you can. Well, because Sir Arden is the Kingdom Marshal, and so I'm the deputy for steel fighting.
I thought there might be like somebody in FLR that was like the rebated steel marshal.
Yeah, no, that's yeah.
Smart man, but I know I'm
I didn't know how it worked either until I got appointed to. This is like by far the most official position I've ever had in the SCA. The way the fights are judged and scored is different. They are not judged by the combatants. They are judged by corner judges, like in boxing or MMA. And this is where it gets tricky because it requires so many more people to do it. For a legal SCA fight, you need a marshal. For a legal rebated steel tournament, you need four shot counters. There are two people counting shots on each combatant. Because, right.
Oh, so like, quarter one, quarter three.
Yeah, yes, those two people are counting the combatant on the blue corner, and those two count the shots on the combatant in the red corner. Additionally, there is a separate timekeeper who cannot also be counting points because the matches are generally timed either to the first to 5 is a very common score, or the most shots in a pre-agreed upon amount of time. So there's a separate person keeping time who cannot also be counting shots. You can't do both at once. And then there is the marshal in charge. So you need 6 people to referee a steel fighting match in a tournament. This makes getting it up and running in your area difficult. Merc Phelan has this by a bunch of interconnected flukes. Yeah, like come talk to us, I guess, and then we will work on trying to like get more marshals to expand to someone else's area. But that right now will be the biggest stumbling block. Like you need to do it in an event, you need 6 people. If you want your event, come talk to me. I'll try to bring 6 people. Yes.
How much training does it take to be a shot counter? You have to be like a
There's currently no real process for getting official point counters. You get better with practice. It's difficult. In a minute, we're gonna have some fighting, and you'll get to watch. Yeah. So I was appointed. I was deputized at Adult Swim. Like I got this position like a month and a half ago. It hit the website a month ago. Yeah. I do believe that I'm qualified for it, but I am new at it. And I have just started training everyone in my practice to, okay, now we're going to do some fights where we're all going to practice counting scores. And it's another skill that you get better at. For when we get to that, something I'll point out is that it's better to kind of watch the area between the fighters. Like watching one fighter gets very dodgy when they come around each other. And it is customarily in a timed round. So there will be a bunch of exchanges where they like engage and withdraw and circle. And that's really why you really want the 4 counters, because you might have like all of a sudden your person might have their back to you, and you can't really you have to stay. You can't run around the list. So it's supposed to be enough people to get everyone. Yeah. Each of the 4 score counters on their corner stays in their corner. So they're not, because they're just supposed to be watching the fight. Yeah. And then at the end of the either predetermined number of seconds of the fight or the first one to the agreed upon cumulative score, then the counters all come in together, compare their scores, and the marshal in charge like makes a ruling of, okay, this is an unequivocal win, or this was too close to call, you've got to fight more. And that's all stuff that you just have to get better at by doing it, because it's really, really difficult. Yeah, yeah. Now, a clean enough, obvious enough win seldom is that debatable, but they're frequently close. And like, it's only as good as the people involved.
So, sorry, not
No, please.
Corner one, corner
Yeah,
three.
yeah.
They're counting, they're not adding their counts together.
No, they're comparing them. So if at the end of a minute, that person says 15 and that person says 6, we're like,
That's a big disparity.
yeah. But if they're like, they say 15, they say 14, they say 7, they say 9, this fighter takes it. They both agree that they won by at least 5 points.
So, next question.
But
because whatever.
yeah.
I'm counting the shots that he landed on the opponent, or I'm counting the shots that he has taken from this.
It's specified at the beginning of it. Like, this is the most important point of communication in a tournament.
Okay.
Yeah, and
it's not always the same. Sorry, like, am I counting like how many times you hit the guy, or am I counting how many times the guy hit you?
That would be specified in the clearest possible terms before the fight starts. Like, these two corners, counting the fights on that fighter. Okay. These two corners, counting the fights on that fighter. Is everyone ready? Fighters ready. Timekeeper ready. Lay on.
Cool. Okay. Got it.
And because a frequent way for this to get totally fucked up is them to be counting the wrong thing. And then you'll get like the scores will be backwards. So, all right. Later, man. The law speaker has left the building.
Absolutely.
And like counting shots is a new skill to learn.
Right.
And particularly counting shots in a continuous exchange. Because like you watch an SCA tournament and most people can tell when that really good shot was landed.
Yes.
And like everyone disengages because the SCA plays to one really good hit. And as a side note, fighters who are only used to that will throw that really good hit and then just like freeze and get hit. So yeah. So learning to fight a continuous round is itself a new skill. But I mean, you like anything else, get used to it. But learning to count the shots well is difficult. And the best way to do it is to talk about it. And to train people, like you start with, first you get as many people as you have. Like we have enough people and enough extra fighters to have like everyone do it and then let's talk about it. If you can get 2 on each corner and have everyone compare notes, like eventually you through like working on it together, everyone gets better. Yes.
Also, if you want the edge of the blade to travel a certain amount, is it specifically 90 degrees?
No, yeah, the metric in the SCA for a good shot needs true edge alignment, which we're all familiar with, and the movement of 3 joints of the body. That is how the SCA's rules determine good form. Just as a contrast, the way that international steel fighting frequently did it was they wanted to see the point of the blade move 90 degrees. I see where both these came from. I don't think either is perfect. Like there are people who can do that and throw a shot you would take in the SCA. Steel fighting doesn't want to see that. There are definitely people who could like throw a 45-degree shot. Or there are strong enough people that could do it from like just one joint. But that's not the way these rules work. So the rules say 3 joints. The hip, the elbow, and the wrist is 3 joints. The shoulder is a 4th one. Like if you throw a shot with good form, it's using most of your body. But can you come out here with your shield? And put it on. And get that way so the camera can see my sword. What they're trying to avoid is seeing this or seeing this. That, yeah. They want to see you throw a good shot, followed by another good shot and another good shot and another good shot. And the target area is the same in the SCA. It's the same as the SCA, but you're required to armor the shins because in case you fuck up. Yeah. Oh, you're required to wear boots. Sneakers are not good enough. You're not required to wear Sabatons, but you are required to wear at least boots. Yes.
Is it grappling?
No. It is, in the respects of the fight, except for the lack of thrusting, interchangeable with an SCA fight. There's no punching, there's no kicking, there's no grappling, there's no throws, there's no excessive body contact. You can, much as vague as it is in rattan, you can kind of push some with the flat of a shield, but don't get too pushy with it. It's just as gray a gray area. But you know, like the rest of the striking, if anyone is familiar with the rest of the sport of Bohart, particularly the most televised, the melee parts of it, it's not that. It's they really only want to see contact with the edges of the two weapons, and there's no mass weapons. So what I'm getting at there is, it's pretty safe. Like it's fine. It's fine. You should try it. Yeah, well, so I mean, this is, again, it is basically the dueling rules in Bohart, which has existed this whole time. It's just nowhere near as popular. Like they make the duels like Friday morning. People are still at work. The big show is the melee. The big show is people getting run over from behind. But this has been a part of the sport since, at least since my knowledge of the sport, which started in 2012. It's just kind of fringe. And when I started, everybody who did duels and was any good at it were people who've been in the SCA for 30 years. And as Bohart got more athletic, there were less of those people. And at this point now, the recruiting for Bohart and for the SCA have very, very little crossover. And like, so what? Like it's interesting if you care about the history, but it's irrelevant for the practice of it. But the skills of fighting sword and shield in the SCA or longsword in the SCA are fairly transferable. The risk of injury is, with proper equipment, is honestly, I think, lower than the risk of injury in rattan, because you might still get run over from behind. Like there's only one-on-ones in this kind of steel fighting in the SCA, and there's only these two weapons, and then
What's the other weapon that you use?
long swords. Yeah. And that's it. And I mean, anybody who is hot shit with a sword and shield should try this. It's a new challenge. Fighting in gauntlets is harder than fighting in a basket hilt. Like the basket hilt and two-finger trigger is a phenomenal invention. It gives you a ridiculous amount of control over a stick in your hand. Yeah, well, same. This is just more difficult. I believe you can use a basket hilt, but then you have to weld a basket hilt to. They don't build them this way. You have to make it yourself. Yeah, but people build steel or like commission it from someone, but like steel swords generally come looking like this. And Queons are plenty for blocking, but like the basket hilt just gives you, it frees up your fingers to do all kinds of very useful stuff here that you lose out on an mitten gauntlet, and that's life. So instead of getting like that really sweet hand flick, you're kind of locked in more, and so you have to follow through more to get the shot to snap. Because otherwise, you're just kind of stopping here. And then, like, your gauntlet hits your band brace and you're stuck. So you've got to, like, exaggerate the motions more. Yeah. 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 Or you can, like, as you kind of cheat the range, you get a little bit more wrist action, but you don't get this. Which is, I mean, it's just a new skill to learn. Like, learning new skills makes you better at being skilled. I certainly don't ever think that this would replace rattan in the SCA. But for the people who do it, it is some new skills to learn that makes you better at fighting in general. Yeah, exactly. And like the armor itself has gotten, like, it's gotten much more affordable. Unfortunately, the war in Ukraine spiked the price again, because a lot of the best equipment at the best price has come from there since that guy was Polish, but yeah. So Sylvester Tilko he's no longer in business. His son does. I haven't used one of his weapons yet. I'm currently getting something made by Paul Friedel at Baltimore Knife and Sword, because they have a lifetime guarantee. And like, what's up?
How much?
600 for a two-handed sword, for a bastard sword that with a lifetime guarantee. Yeah, the new ones being about 3. So, but like 600 for one with a lifetime guarantee to me is worth it, because I've broken, half a dozen of them in 9 years. Yeah.
What's the requirements on the swords?
Yeah, there are length and weight requirements. Blunt is the radius of a circle. blunt is a number of millimeters. I think it's 2. I don't have all of these memorized. Because I don't have them memorized because at this point, I know on site who made there's not that many different people who make swords for the sport. Like I know them when I see them, and like I can just kind of tell. I will memorize them all now because I have this official capacity. There are also maximum heater shield dimensions.
Oh, cool.
And it might be 23 inches by 30 inches. They can't cover your entire body unless you're about 5'5". Like so, like yeah, the eternal heater is not part of this. I'm right there with you, but that's not my purview. No, that's never certain amount of strength. So with the no thrusting, you don't need a ton of flexibility. If it's too brittle, it'll break. There are breakage tests, but not sproing tests. I think maybe there is. Actually, now I think I remember there is a little bit of a flex test, but nowhere near as much as like a Hema sword or a rapier that's meant to collapse because those are meant to stab with, and these you are. Yeah, and they shouldn't like the tempered steel will flex and go back into form. Yeah, now that I think about it, there is a section in the rules about how much flex they wanted to have. It's not much. It doesn't need to flex much, but like stainless steel is bullshit. Your sword needs to bend a little bit and come back into shape, and your sword needs to rust. And you just keep it unrusty to make it good. You want hardened steel. I want to show you something. So this is a pattern of brigandine armor that should look fairly familiar to everybody. This pattern is, this is a copy of the one in the Cushnick Museum. I built this out of bending sheets of titanium myself in the garage. You work it cold. It is slightly harder than doing with barrel plastic, but the idea is generally the same. Okay. And a 2 foot by 3 foot rectangle of this stuff is like $120. Yeah, it's oh, I did. You get a Beverly shear. It's the same as making out of a stop sign, just a slightly harder material, but you use all the same tools. Like the Beverly shear cuts it, the Whitney punch punches it. Yeah, it's not that hard, and you can make splinted everything the same way too. I mean, the plate looks nicer, but you can 100% just build it all out of titanium the way you build it out of street signs, and it is like I won a world championship wearing this breastplate. It's fine. Like the inside of Catherine's is more of the Leeds brigandine style, but the Leeds brigandine style. You're a little on the early period side. You might not know this this snobbery of the 1400s. It's but it, like fought polearm internationally, wearing a brigantine that we made ourselves out of sheets of titanium, cloth, the same pop ribbons from Tandy everyone uses. It's actually not that hard, and the skill, like the tinkering skills that most people in the SCA, if they maintain their own armor, it's all the same stuff. The buckles are identical, rivets are identical. Making the shell, making a pattern, it's all the same.
Okay.
The material you use.
So this is hardened steel. The Kevlar and.
Oh yeah, the new hot shit is a Kevlar skin. I haven't gone that. I still use like duck cloth.
Dear Lord.
But
Kevlar?
Because these eventually will start wearing out.
Okay,
yeah. It's not to provide more protection from the weapons in the sport. It's to provide less fraying around the rivets. Because replacing all of the skin on a coat of plates is a pain in the ass. I've done it. It takes a while. But yeah, like Catherine's is a comparable style to this, albeit half the size. But that also illustrates the point that it all scales. Like Rudiger wears the same pattern of body armor that I wear, but a little bit smaller. That's basically the same as the pattern that Catherine wears. In fact, that I believe was by Armor Shop, and that's the one I copied the first time I made one of those. There are, if not patterns, pictures of the inside of these readily available online. The ones in museums, not great. They're usually pretty rusted away. But at this point, there are Bohert companies making copies of these. So you look up like the names of one of the museum ones, and you'll find a link to someone's store selling the Bohert ones, and they show a picture of the plates on the inside. And like you can kind of start like thinking and copying and making a pattern. It's easier than it looks. Yeah. Like if you take away one thing from this, the equipment is easier than it looks. Okay. The hardest part is the counting the points on someone else's fight. but like,
No,
but
I'm
but
not a big fan.
but that comes at the point of trying to run a tournament. Getting someone safely on the field, which is in my mind infinitely more important, is actually not that hard. And if you just want to throw money at the problem, there are still plenty of Ukrainian armorers who are cranking out their products as fast as they can. Like you can get a suit of armor in less than a year if you just want. I just want to click one button and buy the whole thing. You can do that. If you want to build stuff yourself, you have to click a couple of buttons. Comparable amount of time, less price.
Okay.
The satisfaction of doing it yourself. You can't, yeah, like so they'll take measurements, but there is no substitute for trying it on first. There just isn't. Yeah, and also there's splinted stuff. Brigandine armor is more forgiving. Like it will collapse better around you. Like yeah, like the Brigandine breastplate is a fucking phenomenal invention. It is very easy to make it one size fits a decent amount. And since we don't have to worry about lances, Brigandine body armor is the most you will ever need. Like lances. Yeah, we don't need a hard breastplate because no one is going to try to run us through. Yeah, exactly. There's no sharp projectile weapons that we have to worry about. So, like, the same reason that, in my opinion, the barrel plastic coat of plates is the best armor for SCA fighting.
So, like, you could take out this side panel for a smaller person, or add in an extra panel for a larger person.
Yeah.
And then just have buckles, which also change the size.
Basically four pieces.
There's five. There's two in the front, two on the sides, and one back piece. And for travel, you can unbuckle the entire thing and stack it.
Stack it up.
Yeah. I
Like flying on a plane, for example.
we find a lot of planes with our armor. Like I've got tricks.
Yeah.
The people who fight a lot of pole arms will put plates in the shoulder straps. I took those. I don't have those, so I can take my armor and hold it out, flip it on itself, and nest it.
Oh.
And so the bottom of my armor bag is the front and back lying on top of each other, but it's all one piece. But these buckle here and buckle on both sides. So this will become 5 pieces that you can stack neatly, and then put your legs, your arms and your legs on top of that, and your greaves. The helmets go in the gauntlet. The gauntlet goes in the rolly bag. You usually get it for free. Sometimes they freak out because it is kind of brass knuckles, but it's rare. Again, I've been flying with armor for 9 years and only been sent back to go check my gauntlets at security once. Now, funny story. It is much harder to get on a plane with a guitar than a suit of armor because musicians have been known to get into trouble. Yeah. I had a belt problem once too, but yeah, I have on. Yeah, same. It was empty bullet casings in my case because I'm a metalhead. I have on 2 occasions had me and my guitar pulled into the other room to get double secret X-rayed because my guitars looked menacing, which was incredibly flattering. But the second one of our idiot friends gets drunk on a plane and puts on their helmet, the jig is up.
Right.
But until that, all you say is, "Oh, we're going to a Renaissance festival." And they're like, "Oh, nerds, that's fine." That's $30 each way for a check bag. It's going up to like 45. Southwest Airlines is getting rid of their 2 free check bags. Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Like, this is a sweet gig we've got. Are there any questions? Like that's most of the details I have off the top of my head. So I figure like we'll make it happen and like get it the 4 corners and like you don't have to like we won't hold you to your counts, but think about what counting the shots looks like.
I don't have it.
There is another shield. Yeah. So yeah, again, the 3 weapon forms are longsword, sword and shield, and sword and buckler. Longsword and sword and shield are traditionally fought in minute rounds with counted shots.
Okay.
And sword and buckler is traditionally fought with the first 1 to 5, and 2 out of 3 of those.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You do a mix of both.
Yeah.
You might say 5 count of
Yeah.
or 1 minute.
The Bohurt tournament formats are 2 out of 3 minute rounds for sword and shield and longsword, and best of 3 first to 5 for sword and buckler. There is a provision in the rules for the SCA, because it's all scored by other people, to have it scored by the counters or like scored by the gallery. Like it's written into it that you could have one where the crowd just decides. And yeah, it is kind of fun. Because like you have to look good. It has to be showy and kind of gallant, and I do kind of enjoy that, you know. Yeah, and there's a lot of rules that steel fighting made to try to stop people from just like posting up and trading shots like that because it's fucking ugly. And what like part of it is what they want to see for the shots. And then for a while they were doing like head and body is 2 points and limbs are 1 to encourage like more movement. And the SCA fell back on, but what about chivalry? And they're like, you can let the gallery decide. So like the person who's just fighting the whole fight like this is not going to win that contest because it doesn't look interesting. It doesn't look exciting. It definitely doesn't look heroic. It's also a non-starter in the SCA because you can't hit below the knee. So like that trick is not really useful here. But
on counting shots, I know edge alignment's much more critical.
Yeah.
How good does it have to be to count the shot? And how does your
I mean,
like if it lands flat, you don't count.
Yeah.
Sure, if it's flat, I'll give you, but like if it's,
yeah, where between the 90 degrees,
yeah,
you kind of use your best judgment. It should not look flat. Like it should be good.
It should look like it would.
And again, like this is like the counting shots is a very, very difficult skill. And you basically like the best way I can think, because I haven't had to teach people to do it. In fact, I don't do it very often. I've done it a couple of times in tournaments, but I try to avoid it because it's really stressful. People really care about winning, and holy shit, it's so fast.
Yeah.
Particularly at like high level tournaments. Like, so you got to just kind of watch it a bunch of times and all talk about what you saw. The best way to do it is have some fights that you film that you're scoring and then watch the video together. But the getting good at score counting is a long process of learning new stuff. And that just is the way it is. Yeah.
Some of the large jousting tournaments, we have the joust, and that has scoring.
Yeah.
You know, and basically the scorer, I'll stand as a scorer. I'll stand behind the departing jouster and score their hit on their opponent.
Yeah.
And then another component is we have foot combat with pole action.
Hell yeah. I love it.
And each fighter has a scorer.
Yeah.
Basically, like stays behind him
Yeah.
at a distance and calls his hits.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. You know, and it's usually first to 3.
Yeah.
And we might have a little bit of a 3-on-3, or I mean, like a mini melee of one.
Yeah.
What we call cutthroat. 3 fighters.
Okay, yeah. Oh, the toilet bowl of death?
But yes, but each fighter has their scorer that follows them at a distance.
Yeah.
Is this, in the scoring, is this, if we get back to that, if I'm in the corner, would I be change if I'm scoring the person I'm looking at, their hits on the opponent? Sometimes, or sometimes might it be, no, you're going to count how many times the other person hits.
You will be scoring the hits on one person consistently through the entire match.
Hits all on a person.
Yeah. So
That's
Zachariah, if you want to get,
you want to do like diagonally?
I want you to do it. I want these to be the 2 sides for reasons of the camera. So the way we would do it, can I get a volunteer? So you try to avoid them having identical kits, but here we are. Merc Phelan has all the steel fighters. So what we would say is counters scoring the shots on this fighter. Counters scoring the shots on this fighter. I know all their names. You might not. So you're scoring the number of times that this fighter is struck. You'd be scoring the times that this fighter is struck. I'm not going to hold you to this score, but this will be a phenomenal demonstration in how new this part of it is. Can you time us?
Sure. Are we going to a certain score?
No, we're going to go for 30 seconds. We're going to go for 30 seconds.
So I'm assuming edge versus flat. Yes. Scoring the hits.
They're scoring good hits, which means wanting to see 3 joints move and good edge alignment and good follow through. Like what the SCA would call tippy doesn't count. It's very hard to get that with moving all 3 joints. Like once you're there, you're kind of there. But like, yeah, tippy shots wouldn't count. Flat shots wouldn't count. But again, like the point of this is not who wins this fight. The point is to show you what it's like trying to count because it's like nothing else. So you want to give me 30 seconds on the clock?
Are you ready? Fight!
It'll probably be fine. Oh, the up to 5 is buckler. Okay. So then this is what you would call fighters to your corners, because this is not a you guys conversation. This is all the counters come in. But in that this is just a demonstration, you can come in and listen to this part. It's not a secret because it's not a tournament. So then we say, so what did you get?
I had 6.
What did you get?
I actually had 0.
What did you get?
I got 11.
That's 7.
I wasn't watching. I wasn't counting. I was watching for like safety issues. It illustrates my point that this is difficult.
Yeah.
And this is where you didn't happen to film it, did you?
I did.
Oh,
We've
okay.
got film. That's
Yeah,
why I'm-
so, yes.
I was really trying to say,
Yeah.
okay, if
Yeah.
there was contact, was her whole body engaged? But and it's almost
Yeah.
like you're going backwards.
Yeah.
From the shot.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a hit here, but it wasn't a fully engaged shot. And then it's like, okay,
At that point, at that point, it's way too late. Yeah. So the only tip I've gotten for that is you kind of watch the space between the fighters.
That's when you said that
It was
earlier.
so hard for me not to shift. I'm like, wait.
I know,
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, this is really dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. It gets a little bit easier with practice, but like, it's still hard. You want to grab a pair of bucklers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Looks like fun though.
It's a lot of fun. So bucklers is first to 5, and
Would we just say 5?
you will raise all 5 fingers.
Yeah. Do you do a running count?
You can.
Just go, ready to
So
go.
in Boer, there is another code for 4. I don't remember what it is, but
Oh, to kind of say, okay.
it's mostly like the fighters. If they look over, they've just lost the fight. But it should be for the head marshal to know that it's getting close, because the head marshal's job is to see when someone has the when the first time someone calls the 5, you call a hold. And then everyone talks about it. If the other guy's like, he definitely only got 3, they're like, all right, maybe you got to fight more. But again, a lot of like personal judgment comes in at this because it's tricky and fast. But so call your shots on the same fighters as last time. And when you think one of them got to the 5, raise a hand. And this will give a decent, this one isn't timed. I think, yeah. Fighters ready? Counters ready? Lay on. Hold. And what was you guys' count?
4.
Yeah. Yeah. That's close enough to be believable.
It's really hard to tell what's buckler versus fake.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was one, there was one I think you got that I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I saw it.
So I didn't count it. It was like, it could have been buckler, so I didn't.
Yeah.
I figured you would get it.
So the meta trick there is to use a wooden buckler. So it definitely doesn't sound like quiz. Kind of, yeah. But you're way more. You've heard way more still fighting than most people because we do it a lot. Yeah.
There's no way he could have seen it.
Yeah.
And that's why, like the meta move for steel fighting would be the leather on the buckler. It doesn't make sense.
Then you have to
Yeah. You need the boss to still be metal, but the rim can be rawhide over plywood. And now it definitely doesn't sound like.
So you get that.
Yeah, I mean that's why I have my BCQs that I wear a lot for rattan fighting because they look cool. I never wear them for steel fighting because if I'm like going back and someone tags it like and it's flopped out to here, like the marshal might think that was a hit. Yeah, so like having it be at the judgment of somebody else does change some subtle things. Some for the better, some not. But yeah, we don't want the original way was whoever dies first loses. We don't want that. Like everything we
definitely know who won.
yeah. The only flawless systems were whoever dies first loses, whoever gives up first loses. We don't want all of our sports to be that. And that's how we went from the best guy in our village fights the best guy in your village to the death to soccer. And everyone does their best and trusts each other's good intentions. And I mean, the thing about the SCA, much like all games where half the people don't lose at the end of it or become enslaved, you get to know each other. So like when I see you on the field, like I know what I'm fighting with or against. And the same will happen in like fighting in tournaments and other martials encounters. Like it all like word fame adds up. And if you got that really good friend who just can't count, like this is not the job for them. Like
I never go to more than 11.
I find it count low tournaments or tournaments like this sort of is less anger inducing.
yeah, you can't write. But
It's more chill. It's like, okay, this is now.
There's no pain element.
yeah, but you have to wear 3 times as much armor, and it's really hot in the summer, so you might like bake your brain and go crazy.
But I think there's also a sympathetic. It's like
I mean,
we're all doing it.
Yeah,
so it sucks for everybody.
99.9% of people I've met have been super chill. And there has yet to really be any stakes for steel fighting in the SCA. In fact, so there's a booth at Penzic that is open every day. And last year, no one came. The guy with my job in the East Kingdom was running it. I intend to make more of a presence there this year because I want this to stay in the SCA because I think it's cool. Like, I never think, nor do I particularly want rebated steel crown. Like, the SCA is fine the way it is. Like, I just like that it has this too because this is cool. And if some young hot stick with a fascination for the 100 Years' War, Adamar, gets really good at this and wants to get into Bohurt, we have tournaments. Like, like it's more that the recruitment might work that way. But it's fun. And like then you have a sword, you get to carry a sword around. Like I'm still not over carrying a sword around at Penzic. Like I feel cool doing it. Fuck it. You want to go around a long sword just to show since you're all dressed up and that's the other thing. Yeah, this one's time. We can just go 30 seconds again. Unless you guys want to go for a minute just for like the brutality of it.
And like, what would be better for the tournaments to actually have like counters so you can click instead of having
that's a move.
That would be better for the longer
For a
times.
little longer. When you get up into you were saying 14, 15. It's like,
Yeah.
you can do one hand.
It's harder.
Yes.
But all of a sudden it's like, okay, was that
Yeah, if you have 2 hands on the post.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I mean, you notice that I once again like socially engineered this so I don't have to count shots because I don't like doing it because it's not easy. And I've only done it a couple of times in fucking 13 years of fighting. Catherine's. So I have one of mine and one of Catherine's. Either way, someone's using yours. Are you cool with it?
That one's heavier. No, it's not that much different.
Yeah, I sanded like a pound off of that. That one's mad nice now. I tried to make that one feel as much like that one as possible. Yeah, they want a minute. Count the same people. All right, fighters ready? Counters ready?
Yes.
Lay on. Stop fight.
A minute's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time. I had 9.
I had 12.
I had 9.
6.
So it would be at the purview of the marshal in charge, either like call that the victory or go into overtime, which is not usually an entire round. But would likely say like, that sounds like you, who are you counting on? That sound like,
Counting points
Yeah, we
against
counted.
yeah,
shots.
yeah. So that it sounds like the accord was that you got to get more points. Like they likely would call that as a victory.
Right.
Overtime is brutal.
It's as like someone who's only fought SCA for this, it seems unnatural counting someone else's. You're like, I don't know.
Well, allow me to blow your mind.
It was a clean.
Right.
Not,
yeah.
not
It's
the
hard.
force.
Not tingy and not
Clean
tippy.
shot, you know. The shot made contact. There's one. You got sparks. See that one?
Yeah. So when the audience sees, you smell burning ozone in your helmet when they see sparks. The thing about the shocking new idea of counting the shots on someone else, dude, there's so many ways to sword fight in the world. There's so many. Like, you should try a lot of them. Like, go out there, play with some boffers. Like, go out there, try some HEMA. Like, because doing sports makes you better at sports.
Yes.
And nothing is going to transfer all of its skills perfectly. But there's stuff that's fairly universal. Like, the footwork in HEMA is the same as the footwork in SCA, is the same as the footwork in Bohurt. Sports where you can thrust and sports where you can't, now there's a difference. Sir Aaron was the thing that he got from tennis that he uses in his footwork. Like fucking go out and play some soccer. It will make your footwork better for sword fighting. And it's like bananas cardio. HEMA's really fun. Boffer's really fun. Wrestling. Now, wrestling's fun. But like, you want to box. That footwork is phenomenal for sword fighting. Like, go out and try stuff like that. Like that. This is now a completely separate subject, but like I think that doing martial arts is awesome, and I think that everyone should do them.
What would be like? Would 1 minute be about the longest you'd ever have a
Yes, yeah. At this point, the tournament standard is best of 2 1-minute rounds.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you could tell.
Yeah.
You get like.
When I did it in Mexico, it was at 10,000 feet.
30, 40
When I did it in
seconds
Mexico, it was
and it's
10,000
like-
feet.
And it's like, all right, I need to regroup a little bit. And there was
Oh,
a
God.
fade, and then came back to it, knowing time's ticking down. Like,
Yeah.
The energy was hard. I'm like, man, more than a minute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
right.
cardio
Yeah.
is nuts.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
like two 1-minute rounds, or no, best of 3.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, so currently the way it is in steel fighting tournaments is cumulative score.
Okay.
So the triple overtime 5-minute fights, largely a thing of the past. I've done those. They're fucking awful. Like I've
35
yeah.
to 28. You know?
Well, no, I've done the fights where you had to win 2 out of 3 rounds. They kept calling draws, so I had to fight 5 rounds in Arizona. Like I've done that. That was a rough day. Cumulative scores got rid of that, and
So
I.
you just start the second one at 10.
You count and then they add them up, so you don't have to keep it in your head or anything. They use a piece of paper.
These things are so advanced.
Right now, things.
But yeah, the 1-minute rounds is the tournament standards for the 2 biggest Bohurt International and International Medieval Combat Federation. It's not etched in stone in the SCA or at any tournament you throw. Like if you want 30-second rounds, if you want longsword first to 5, if you and your opponent are at practice and want longsword first to 5, like that's all fine. The tournament format is not rigidly structured the way it is in Bohurt. And fights get more dangerous when they're sloppy. So if you are getting this started in your area and everyone's new, maybe they should just fight for 30 minutes because like through nobody's malfeasance, you can get tired and they can walk the point of the sword into their eye slot.
Right. Yeah.
Like I've had this happen to me. You're better off not fighting exhausted. Like if you're too tired and fall close to somebody, I've seen Queons go through an eye slot. Like you're better off keeping it crisp and shorter rounds and less of them. Like
that.
whatever you have to do.
Yep.
The old way was a single 90-second round. So like, and winner wins. And honestly, the 2 1-minute rounds is easier because you get a minute break between them. Like it's honestly easier. But
Seconds feels like
Yeah, it's and they changed it 5 years ago, and it still feels easier. And going to 30-second overtime also like, yeah. But yeah, the fighting rules and the armor rules are like is etched. Well, I'll say those are etched in stone. Those are society wide and permanent. The tournament format has some elasticity, and I encourage you to read the rules or talk to me at any time about this, because I mean, I personally kind of like with gallery chooses to like make your shots super flashy, because like the armor looks awesome, like the swords make sword noise, and like I like that. Like I like that it's romanticized. Like I like King Arthur, you know, and so getting like that flower of chivalry stuff, like that's fun.
That's the whole idea behind a tournament of 30 too.
Yeah.
Really engage
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Combat at 30 was my favorite thing in the SCA until Road to Rouen made it a whole weekend. Yeah. Road to Rouen is now my favorite event I've been to.
How do we get a tournament going? How do we help you guys?
I mean, guys in armor.
Yes, I mean, I'm not running with armor yet.
Yeah.
They have, but I just went down.
Well, no, because they can have like. Oh, actually, yeah. I guess their armor could be like the plastic is good enough.
Can you do hidden armor in Combat of the 30? Now, Road to Ruin, I wear the same thing I wear here, which would not stand up to this.
I would have to read all the rules.
I'm mostly wearing sports.
Yeah, I would have to read all the rules for Combat at 30 and Road to Rouen again. I can't speak with those with the same authority. I should learn that. I'm the captain of English this year, which is maybe the greatest honor of my fucking. No, for Combat at 30, I'm the English captain for Combat at the 30 this year. The next Road to Rouen is next year.
Okay.
I'm working on. I want to do that too, and like no one else seems to want it. But,
It sounds like there's some cool people getting tired on the.
yeah.
I understand.
It had been the same lineups for about 5 years.
Are you good with the video?
Oh yeah, I'm good. We can stop now. That's like, thank you all for coming.
No, seriously, this is awesome.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. So how to get it started? Like not in Merkphaelen